The moment Noah Reed walked into that cafe and saw her sitting there, he knew his life was about to implode. Not just any woman, not just any blind date. Claire Bennett, the ex-wife of the man who'd once been his closest friend. The same friend who'd warned him years ago with cold clarity, "Some lines you don't cross, brother, ever." And here she was, smiling nervously across a table meant for strangers, completely unaware that their coworker had just lit a match in a room full of gasoline. This wasn't a date. This was a detonation waiting to happen. If you're intrigued by stories of forbidden connections, impossible choices, and the courage it takes to build something real from the wreckage of the past, stay with me until the end. And please, hit that like button and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I love seeing how far these stories travel. The job site smelled like sawdust and sweat, the kind of honest work that left Noah Reed's hands calloused and his mind mercifully quiet. He'd been framing houses for the better part of a decade, and there was something almost meditative about the rhythm of it. Measure, cut, hammer, repeat. The sun hammered down on the half-finished subdivision, turning the plywood into hot plates beneath his boots. But Noah barely noticed. He was 3 walls into the morning and already calculating whether he'd finish early enough to pick up Emma from school himself instead of relying on the aftercare program again. "Reed, you got a minute." Noah looked up from the level he was adjusting to find Marcus Chen grinning at him from the doorway of what would eventually be someone's master bedroom. Marcus was the kind of guy who never met a silence he didn't want to fill. Loud, friendly, perpetually optimistic in a way that sometimes exhausted Noah, but mostly just amused him. "Depends on what you need," Noah said, wiping his forearm across his forehead. "If it's help moving drywall, I'm suddenly very busy." Marcus laughed, stepping over a pile of 2x4s. "Nothing like that. Actually, I wanted to talk to you about something personal." Noah's stomach tightened reflexively. In his experience, conversations that started with the word personal rarely ended well. "Okay. So my wife's been on me about this for weeks," Marcus continued, lowering his voice even though the nearest worker was 2 houses down. "She's got this friend, works at the hospital, really sweet, going through a divorce, and she's convinced you two would hit it off." "Marcus, I know. You're going to say you're not interested, you're too busy with Emma. Dating isn't a priority right now." Marcus held up his hands in mock surrender. "I've heard all the excuses, brother. But here's the thing. When's the last time you did something just for yourself? Not for your kid, not for work, not because you had to. When's the last time you just tried?" Noah set down his level, straightening to his full height. At 6'1", he had a couple of inches on Marcus, but his coworker had never been intimidated by much. "It's not about excuses. Emma's 9 years old. She needs stability, routine. I can't just—" "1 coffee date," Marcus interrupted. 2 hours, max. Saturday afternoon, Emma's at her mom's anyway, right? What's the harm?" The harm, Noah thought, was that he'd gotten comfortable in his carefully constructed life. Work, Emma, the occasional beer with the guys from the crew, Sunday morning pancakes, bedtime stories, repeat. It wasn't exciting, but it was safe. It was predictable. After the chaos of his marriage falling apart 3 years ago, predictable felt like a gift. But there was something else, too. Something he didn't like to examine too closely in the bright light of day. Loneliness. The kind that crept up on him after Emma went to bed, when the house got too quiet, and he'd catch himself staring at his phone, scrolling through social media, watching other people live lives that looked fuller than his. "Saturday?" Noah heard himself say. Marcus's face lit up. "Saturday, the cafe on Morrison Street, 2 o'clock. Her name's Claire. I'll text you her number so you can confirm." "Wait, you haven't even— Does she know about this?" "She will by tonight," Marcus said cheerfully. "Trust me, Reed. Sometimes the universe knows what you need before you do." Noah watched his coworker walk away, already pulling out his phone, probably texting his wife that the mission was accomplished. The universe, Noah thought dryly, had a pretty questionable track record when it came to knowing what he needed. Still, that night, after Emma was asleep and the dishes were done and the house had settled into its familiar silence, Noah found himself staring at the text message Marcus had sent. Just a name and a number. Claire. He didn't recognize the area code. He told himself he'd think about it, sleep on it, probably send a polite message tomorrow saying he'd changed his mind. But his thumb was already moving, typing out words before his brain could fully authorize them. "Hi, Claire. This is Noah, Marcus's coworker. I hear we're supposed to have coffee on Saturday. If you're still interested, Morrison Street Cafe at 2 works for me." He hit send before he could reconsider, then immediately wanted to throw his phone across the room. What was he doing? He didn't have time for this. He didn't have the emotional bandwidth for... The phone buzzed in his hand. "Hi, Noah. Yes, Marcus's wife has been talking about you for weeks. Saturday sounds great. Looking forward to it." Noah stared at the message, at the smiley face emoji that somehow made the whole thing feel more real and more terrifying all at once. He typed back a simple confirmation, then set his phone face down on the coffee table and tried to ignore the uncomfortable flutter in his chest. It was just coffee. What was the worst that could happen? Saturday arrived with the kind of perfect autumn weather that made Noah irrationally suspicious. Clear skies, comfortable temperature, the leaves just starting to turn. Even Emma had been in a good mood when he dropped her off at his ex-wife's apartment that morning, chattering about the movie they were going to see, barely pausing to hug him goodbye. Now, standing outside the Morrison Street Cafe at 1:57 p.m., Noah felt like he was 17 again, fumbling through his first date with sweaty palms and no idea what to say. He'd changed shirts 3 times that morning, finally settling on a simple navy Henley that Emma had declared not embarrassing, which he'd chosen to take as a compliment. The cafe was one of those deliberately rustic places with exposed brick and mismatched furniture, the kind of spot that served coffee in handmade ceramic mugs and played indie folk music at a volume that suggested conversation was encouraged. Through the window, Noah could see it was moderately busy, couples scattered at small tables, a few people working on laptops in the corner. He checked his phone. 1:59. No backing out now. Noah pushed through the door, a small bell chiming above his head. He scanned the room, looking for someone who might be looking for him, when his eyes landed on a woman sitting alone near the back window. The world tilted. Everything, the ambient music, the hiss of the espresso machine, the murmur of conversation, faded into white noise as Noah's brain struggled to process what his eyes were telling him. Claire. Not Claire the stranger, Claire the blind date, Claire the friend of Marcus's wife. Claire Bennett. Claire who used to bring homemade cookies to poker nights when they were all barely out of college. Claire who'd laughed at Noah's terrible jokes and always remembered to ask about his mom's health. Claire who'd married Lucas Hayes in a backyard ceremony where Noah had stood as best man, making a toast about friendship and forever that he'd actually meant. Claire, who he hadn't seen or spoken to in almost 4 years. She looked up at that exact moment, her eyes meeting his across the cafe, and Noah watched her face go through the same sequence of emotions that must have been playing across his own: confusion, recognition, shock, and then something that looked almost like panic. For 3 heartbeats, neither of them moved. Then Noah's feet were carrying him forward, muscle memory overriding the alarm bells clanging in his head. He reached her table and heard himself say, in a voice that sounded too calm, "Claire?" "Noah." She stood up quickly, nearly knocking over the water glass in front of her. What are you... Marcus's coworker?" "Yeah." The word came out rough. "You're Marcus's wife's friend from the hospital?" "I'm a nurse in the pediatric unit. I started there about 6 months ago, and Rebecca, Marcus's wife, she's been..." "Oh, God." Claire pressed her hand to her forehead, and Noah could see her putting the pieces together just as he was. "She didn't tell you my last name." "She didn't tell you mine either, apparently." They stood there, frozen in a moment that would have been comical if it weren't so catastrophically awkward. Other cafe patrons were starting to notice, glancing over with curiosity at the strange tableau they presented. "I should go," Noah said finally. "This was obviously a mistake. I'm sorry you got dragged into..." "Wait!" Claire's hand shot out, not quite touching his arm but hovering close enough that he stopped moving. "Please, just sit down for a second. Let's think about this." Every instinct Noah had was screaming at him to leave, to walk out of this cafe and never look back, to text Marcus on Monday and tell him thanks, but no thanks, and never speak of this again. This was Lucas's ex-wife, Lucas, who'd been Noah's best friend from freshman year of college through their mid-20s. Lucas, who'd grown distant and cold after the divorce, who'd made it clear he didn't want anything to do with Noah or their old friend group anymore. Lucas, who'd once said, half joking but not really, "If we ever split up, the guys are mine." Standard friend divorce protocol. But Noah found himself sitting down anyway, because despite the alarm bells and the common sense and the certainty that this was a terrible idea, there was something else. Curiosity, maybe. Or the strange, disorienting feeling of seeing someone who used to be part of his everyday life suddenly reappearing like a ghost from a past he'd tried to leave behind. Claire sat down across from him, and up close, Noah could see the ways she'd changed. Her hair was shorter, falling just past her shoulders instead of halfway down her back. She looked thinner, but in a way that suggested stress rather than intention. There were fine lines around her eyes that hadn't been there before. But when she met his gaze, there was something in her expression that struck him as stronger, more settled than he remembered. "How long has it been?" Claire asked quietly. "Since the last time we saw each other?" Noah did the math. 3.5 years, maybe closer to 4, that summer barbecue at Mike's place. Right. Claire's smile was sad. Before everything fell apart. "Claire, I'm sorry about all of it. The divorce, Lucas cutting everyone off. I should have reached out, but he made it pretty clear he wanted space, and I didn't know if you'd even want to hear from—" "Noah," she cut him off gently. "You don't have to apologize. I know what Lucas was like after we separated. He torched every bridge he could find, and he made damn sure everyone knew whose fault he thought it was." There was no bitterness in her voice, just a kind of weary acceptance that made Noah's chest ache. "For what it's worth," he said carefully, "I never believed his version of things. Lucas was my friend, but I knew him well enough to know that when he told a story, he was always the hero." Something flickered across Claire's face. Surprise, maybe, or gratitude. "Thank you for that." They fell into silence, and Noah became aware that they still hadn't ordered anything, that they were just sitting at this table staring at each other like survivors of some disaster, trying to figure out if it was safe to emerge from the rubble. "So," Claire said finally, a hint of humor creeping into her voice, "this is definitely the most awkward blind date in the history of blind dates." Noah surprised himself by laughing. "I don't know. I once showed up to meet someone and found out she was my high school English teacher. This might be tied for first." "You're making that up." "I swear on Emma's life, Mrs. Patterson. She gave me a C- in American literature." Claire laughed too, and the sound was so familiar and yet so strange after all these years that it made Noah's heart twist. "Did you stay for coffee?" "Hell no, I ran out of there like the building was on fire." Noah paused. "Should I be running out of here?" The question hung between them, more serious than he'd intended. Claire looked down at her hands, and Noah noticed she wasn't wearing a wedding ring anymore, noticed the pale band of skin where one used to be. "I don't know," she said honestly. "Probably? Noah, this is so complicated." "Yeah." "Lucas would lose his mind if he knew we were even sitting here talking." "Yeah." "Rebecca's going to feel terrible when she finds out." "Marcus, too." Claire looked up at him, and Noah couldn't quite read the expression in her eyes. "But what?" "You were about to say but something," Claire said. "I can tell." Noah ran his hand through his hair, a nervous habit he'd never managed to break. And this is going to sound crazy. I've been dreading this date all week. I've been planning exit strategies and checking my watch and basically treating it like a dental appointment. And now sitting here with you, even with how weird this is, I'm not dreading it anymore." Claire was quiet for a long moment. Then softly, "Me too." The admission settled between them like a confession. "We could just have coffee," Noah heard himself say. "As old friends who ran into each other. Nothing more complicated than that. And then we go our separate ways and we tell Marcus and Rebecca that it didn't work out, and that's the end of it." "We could do that," Claire agreed. Neither of them moved to leave. A waitress appeared at their table, young and cheerful, completely oblivious to the tension. "What can I get you folks?" Noah looked at Claire. Claire looked at Noah. "2 coffees," Claire said. "Please." The first 20 minutes were careful, both of them navigating the conversation like they were crossing a frozen lake, testing each step before putting their weight down. They talked about safe things, work, the weather, how much the neighborhood had changed. Claire mentioned the hospital, the long shifts, how different pediatric nursing was from the emergency medicine she used to do. Noah talked about construction, about how the housing market was finally recovering, about the new subdivision going up on the east side. Neither of them mentioned Lucas. Neither of them mentioned the divorce. Neither of them mentioned the 4-year gap in their lives where they'd been part of the same friend group and then suddenly, violently, weren't. But eventually, inevitably, the careful conversation began to crack. "How's Emma?" Claire asked, and something in Noah's chest loosened at the question. "She's good. Great, actually. She's 9 now, which feels impossible. She's into soccer and science fiction and this YouTube channel about marine biology that she makes me watch every single night. That sounds amazing." "She is," Noah said simply. "She's the best thing I've ever done, and I'm including that deck I built last summer that got featured in a home improvement magazine." Claire smiled. "I remember when she was born, you brought those awful cigars to the hospital." "They weren't awful. They were vintage." "They were stale, Noah. Lucas almost threw up." And there it was. Lucas's name, finally spoken aloud. The temperature at the table seemed to drop several degrees. "Sorry," Claire said quickly. "I didn't mean to—" "It's okay." Noah surprised himself by meaning it. "We can't exactly pretend he doesn't exist. He's kind of the elephant in the room." "More like the elephant, the rhino, and possibly a small zoo," Claire said dryly. Noah found himself smiling despite everything. "So, how are you, really?" Claire's expression shifted, some of the careful neutrality falling away. "Honestly, I'm okay. Better than okay, actually. The divorce was—" She paused, searching for words. "It was brutal. But it was also necessary, and once it was finally over, once all the paperwork was signed and I could breathe again, I realized I'd been so focused on surviving it that I hadn't thought about what came after." "And what came after?" "Peace," Claire said simply. "I got an apartment I actually like. I made new friends. I switched to pediatrics because I wanted to, not because someone told me ER shifts were more prestigious. I started therapy. I learned how to be alone without being lonely." She paused. "Most days, anyway." Noah recognized something in her words, in the way she said them. The hard-won contentment of someone who'd had to rebuild themselves from scratch. "I get that," he said. "After Sarah and I split, I spent 6 months just trying to remember who I was before I was married. Turns out I was kind of boring." "You're not boring." "I really am, though. I go to work, I take care of Emma, I come home. I can't remember the last time I did anything spontaneous or interesting or—" "You're here," Claire interrupted gently. "That's spontaneous. This was Marcus's idea." "But you showed up, even when you recognized me, even knowing how complicated this is. You sat down." Claire held his gaze. "That's not boring, Noah. That's brave." Noah felt something warm unfold in his chest, something he hadn't felt in so long he almost didn't recognize it. Hope, maybe, or possibility. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Sure." "Why did you and Lucas split up? I know it's none of my business and you don't have to answer, but he never really explained it to anyone. He just said you'd grown apart, and then he cut off everyone who tried to ask questions." Claire was quiet for a moment, her fingers tracing the rim of her coffee mug. When she finally spoke, her voice was measured, careful. "We did grow apart," she said, "but that's not the whole story. The whole story is that I spent 7 years trying to be the person Lucas wanted me to be, and somewhere in the middle of all that trying, I lost track of who I actually was. He wanted a wife who would prioritize his career, his friends, his needs. And for a long time, I did. I worked the shifts he thought were impressive. I went to the events he wanted to attend. I smiled when his colleagues made jokes at my expense because he told me it was just how guys talked." Noah felt something cold settle in his stomach. "Claire, it wasn't abuse," she said quickly, as if reading his mind. "Lucas never hit me, never screamed at me. He was just controlling in ways that were hard to see until I had some distance. He made me feel small, like my opinions didn't matter, like my dreams were less important than his. And eventually, I woke up one morning and realized I couldn't remember the last time I'd made a decision without first considering what Lucas would think about it. God, Claire, I'm so sorry. We didn't know. Of course you didn't. Lucas was good at maintaining the image, the successful couple, the perfect marriage, and I was good at pretending everything was fine. She looked up at him, and her eyes were bright but not with tears, with something fiercer. But I'm done pretending. I'm done making myself smaller so someone else can feel bigger. Noah didn't know what to say. He'd known Lucas for years, had called him his best friend, and yet sitting here listening to Claire, he realized how much he'd missed, how many signs he'd ignored because it was easier to believe the story Lucas told. He talked about you sometimes, Claire said softly, after the divorce, when he was angry. What did he say? That you all took his side because you were his friends first, that I could have the house and the settlement money, but he kept the people who mattered. She smiled sadly. I think it made him feel powerful, cutting everyone off, like he was making a choice instead of having one made for him. For what it's worth, Noah said, I would have listened. If you'd reached out, if you'd needed someone to talk to, I would have been there. I know, Claire said, but I needed to do it alone. Does that make sense? I needed to prove to myself that I could stand on my own 2 feet without leaning on anyone else. Yeah, Noah said, it does. They sat in silence for a moment, and Noah realized their coffee was cold, that the cafe had filled up around them, that the afternoon light had shifted and lengthened. He checked his phone reflexively, 4:47 p.m. They'd been sitting here for nearly 3 hours. I should probably go, Claire said, but she didn't move. I have an early shift tomorrow. Right, yeah, me too. Emma's back at 6. Still, neither of them stood up. Noah, Claire said carefully, can I ask you something now? Shoot. What do you want from this? From today, I mean. From sitting here talking to me when you know how complicated it is. It was a fair question, an important one. Noah thought about lying, about giving some easy answer that would let them both walk away cleanly. But Claire had been honest with him, painfully honest, and she deserved the same in return. I don't know, he admitted. An hour ago, I would have said I wanted to get out of here as fast as possible and forget this ever happened. But now, he trailed off, trying to find the right words. I feel like I've been sleepwalking for 3 years, just going through the motions. Work, Emma, sleep, repeat. And sitting here with you, talking like this, I feel awake again. Like I'm actually present in my own life for the first time in forever. Claire's expression was unreadable. That's dangerous, Noah. I know. Lucas will find out eventually. This is a small enough city, and when he does, I know, Noah repeated. But Claire, honest question, do I owe him something here? After everything you just told me, after the way he cut everyone out of his life, do I owe him the right to dictate who I can or can't have coffee with? No, Claire said quietly. You don't. But that doesn't mean there won't be consequences. I'm willing to accept that. The words were out before Noah had fully thought them through, but once he said them, he realized he meant them. Lucas had been his friend, but that friendship had ended the moment Lucas decided to burn every bridge behind him. Noah didn't owe him loyalty to a relationship that no longer existed. Claire studied him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she smiled. A real smile, not the careful, guarded ones she'd been giving him all afternoon. Okay, she said. Okay? Would you want to do this again? Coffee, or dinner, or whatever this is? Noah's heart kicked against his ribs. Yeah, I would. Even knowing how messy it could get? Especially knowing how messy it could get, Noah said. I'm tired of playing it safe, Claire. I'm tired of living in the margins of my own life. Claire pulled out her phone, handed it to him. Put your number in. Noah took the phone, his fingers brushing against hers, and felt something electric in that small contact. He typed in his number, handed it back. I can't promise this will be easy, Claire said as she stood up, gathering her jacket. I'm still figuring out who I am post-divorce. I work crazy hours, and the ghost of my ex-husband is going to be hanging over everything we do for a while. That's a hell of a sales pitch, Noah said, standing as well. I believe in full disclosure. They walked out of the cafe together into the golden late afternoon light. The street was busy with Saturday shoppers and couples strolling hand in hand, the world continuing its oblivious rotation while Noah's had just tilted on its axis. "Thank you," Claire said when they reached the crosswalk. "For staying, for listening, for not running away when you had every reason to." "Thank you for giving me a reason not to," Noah replied. They stood there for another moment, neither quite ready to leave, when Claire's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and something in her expression changed. "Rebecca," she said, asking how the date went, with several winky face emojis. "Marcus texted me this morning with the same question, plus a thumbs up and a gif of a guy doing a victory dance." Claire laughed. "What are we going to tell them?" Noah thought about it. "The truth? That it was complicated, but we're going to see each other again anyway? That'll raise some questions." "Probably, but I'm done lying to make other people comfortable." Claire looked at him with something that might have been admiration. "Okay, truth it is." She leaned in quickly before either of them could overthink it and kissed his cheek. It was brief, chaste, nothing more than a friendly goodbye, but Noah felt the warmth of it radiate through him long after she'd pulled away. "Text me," Claire said. "I will." He watched her walk away, disappearing into the Saturday afternoon crowd, and stood there like an idiot with his hand pressed to his cheek where she'd kissed him. His phone buzzed. "Marcus." "Well? How'd it go?" Noah looked at the message for a long moment. Then he typed, "Complicated, but good. I'll explain on Monday." He pocketed his phone and started walking toward his truck, his mind already spinning through everything that had just happened, everything that could happen next. This was crazy. This was reckless. This was exactly the kind of thing that was going to blow up in his face. But for the first time since his divorce, Noah Reed felt like he was actually living instead of just surviving. And that, he thought as he climbed into his truck, was worth almost any consequence. Emma was in a good mood when he picked her up, chattering about the movie, about the popcorn she'd spilled, about how Mom's new boyfriend had weird hair. Noah listened, made the appropriate responses, and tried not to think about Claire. Tried not to replay their conversation. Tried not to check his phone every 5 minutes to see if she'd texted. "Dad, you're being weird," Emma announced as they pulled into their driveway. "What? I'm not being weird. You keep smiling at nothing. It's creepy," Noah laughed. "Sorry, kiddo. Just had a good day." "Doing what? You went to have coffee with that lady Marcus set you up with, right?" Emma's eyes widened with interest. "Did you like her? Are you going to see her again? Is she going to be my new mom?" "Whoa, slow down there, champ. One step at a time." "But did you like her?" Noah thought about how to answer as he unlocked the front door. "Yeah," he said finally. "I did, but it's complicated." "Adults always say that when they mean yes, but don't want to admit it," Emma said wisely, kicking off her shoes in the entryway. "Mom says that about her boyfriend all the time." "When did you get so smart?" "I've always been smart. You just finally noticed." Noah ruffled her hair, earning an indignant squawk. "Go wash up for dinner. I'm thinking tacos." "Can I have extra cheese?" "You always have extra cheese." "That's because extra cheese makes everything better," Emma declared, heading for the bathroom. Noah stood in his kitchen, listening to his daughter sing off-key in the bathroom, and felt the day settle over him like a weight. Not a bad weight, just the gravity of having made a choice that would ripple outward in ways he couldn't predict. His phone buzzed. "Unknown number. Hey, it's Claire. Just wanted to say thank you again for today, and to make sure this number actually works." Noah saved her contact, then typed back, "It works. And you don't have to thank me. I should be thanking you." Claire. "For what?" Noah. "For reminding me what it feels like to want something." He hit send before he could second-guess it. 3 dots appeared immediately, then disappeared, then appeared again. Claire. "That might be the nicest thing anyone's said to me in years." Noah. "Then you've been spending time with the wrong people." Claire. "Clearly. When can I see you again?" Noah's heart rate kicked up. "When are you free?" Claire. "I'm off Tuesday night. There's a place in Riverside that does incredible Thai food. Very casual. Very not a date if we don't want it to be." Noah. "Tuesday works." 7? Claire. "Perfect. Fair warning, though. I'm going to tell Rebecca tomorrow that we're seeing each other. She deserves to know before this gets complicated." Noah appreciated that. The honesty, the consideration. I'll tell Marcus on Monday. Get it out in the open. Claire. Think they'll freak out? Noah. Probably. But that's their problem, not ours. There was a pause, longer this time. Claire. I like the way you think, Noah Reed. Noah. I like you, Claire Bennett. Another pause. Then, Claire. Good night, Noah. Noah. Good night. He set his phone down and started pulling out ingredients for tacos, his mind already jumping ahead to Tuesday, to the conversation he'd have to have with Marcus, to all the ways this could go sideways. But underneath all of that was something else, something that felt like the first green shoot pushing through winter ground. Hope. And for now, that was enough. Monday morning arrived with the weight of a confession hanging over Noah's head. He'd spent most of Sunday rehearsing different versions of the conversation he needed to have with Marcus, each one sounding worse than the last. By the time he pulled into the job site parking lot, his stomach was in knots. Marcus was already there, leaning against his truck with a coffee in each hand and a grin that could power a small city. There he is, Marcus called out as Noah approached. The man of mystery. I've been waiting since Saturday afternoon for details, and all I got was complicated but good. What does that even mean? Noah took the offered coffee, buying himself a few seconds. It means exactly what it sounds like. So you liked her. Claire's great, right? Rebecca said she's been through hell with her ex, but she's one of the strongest people she knows. I figured you two would click. Marcus, there's something I need to tell you about Claire. The grin faltered slightly. Okay, that doesn't sound good. What happened? Did she say something? Because Rebecca vetted her pretty thoroughly, and I promise she's not a serial killer or anything. She's Lucas Hayes' ex-wife. The words dropped between them like a stone into still water. Marcus's expression went through several rapid transformations: confusion, comprehension, and finally something close to panic. What? No, that can't be right. Claire's last name is Bennett. She went back to her maiden name after the divorce. But Lucas Hayes, as in your Lucas Hayes. Your best friend, Lucas? Former best friend, Noah corrected. And yeah, same guy. Marcus set his coffee down on the truck bed, running both hands through his hair. Oh man, this is bad. Rebecca is going to lose her mind. She had no idea. I had no idea. Why didn't Claire say something? She didn't know I was the coworker you were setting her up with. You never told her my last name. Because I thought it would be more fun if you were both surprised, Marcus said weakly. I didn't think you'd be that kind of surprised. Noah would have laughed if the situation weren't so absurd. Yeah, well, surprise. So what happened? You left immediately, right? Told her it was a huge mistake and got out of there? We had coffee. We talked for 3 hours, and I'm seeing her again tomorrow night. Marcus stared at him like he'd just announced he was joining a cult. Are you insane? Noah, this is Lucas we're talking about. The guy who still won't return my calls 4 years after his divorce. The guy who blocked half our friend group on social media because they liked one of his ex-wife's Instagram posts. You really think he's going to be cool with you dating Claire? I don't care if he's cool with it. You don't... Marcus cut himself off, lowering his voice as a few other workers arrived. You don't care. Lucas was your best friend for a decade. You were the best man at his wedding, for crying out loud. I was the best man at a wedding that ended because Lucas spent 7 years treating Claire like she was less important than his career, his ego, and his need to be right about everything, Noah said quietly. She told me things, Marcus. Things about what that marriage was really like. And yeah, Lucas was my friend, but he's not anymore. He made that choice when he decided to cut everyone out of his life. I don't owe him anything. Marcus was quiet for a moment, studying Noah's face. You really like her? Yeah, I do. And she likes you? I think so. I hope so. This is going to be a disaster, Marcus said, but there was less judgment in his voice now. More resignation. You know that, right? Lucas is going to find out eventually, and when he does, all hell is going to break loose. Probably. And you're still going to do it anyway? Noah thought about Saturday afternoon, about the way Claire had looked at him across that cafe table, about the text messages they'd exchanged last night, easy and comfortable in a way that made him realize how much he'd been craving that kind of connection, about the fact that for the first time in 3 years,
He'd actually looked forward to Monday instead of dreading it. "Yeah," he said. "I am." Marcus shook his head slowly. "Well, I can't say I understand it, but I respect it. Just promise me one thing." "What's that?" "When Lucas shows up at the job site looking to kick your ass, you'll at least try to keep it away from the expensive equipment." Noah laughed despite himself. "I'll do my best. That's all I can ask." Marcus picked up his coffee again, took a long drink. "For what it's worth, Claire seems really great. And you deserve to be happy, man. You've been sleepwalking through life since your divorce."
If this is what it takes to wake you up, then maybe it's worth the risk. Thanks, Marcus. Don't thank me yet. Wait until Rebecca finds out. She's going to have opinions. That turned out to be an understatement. Noah's phone rang that night while he was helping Emma with her homework, and Rebecca's name flashed across the screen. He considered ignoring it, but that would only delay the inevitable. "Hey, Rebecca." "Noah Reed, what the hell are you thinking?" Emma looked up from her math worksheet with interest. Noah pointed toward her room, mouthing privacy. She rolled her eyes but gathered her books, though not before whispering, "Told you adults always make things complicated." Once she was gone, Noah said, "I'm guessing Marcus told you." "Marcus told me, Claire told me, and now I'm hearing it from you. Please explain to me how you thought dating your ex-best friend's ex-wife was a good idea." "I didn't think it was a good idea. I still don't think it's a good idea. But I'm doing it anyway." Rebecca made a frustrated sound. "You're not taking this seriously." "I'm taking it very seriously, which is why I'm willing to deal with the consequences. Rebecca, I like her, really like her. And from what Marcus said, she's been through hell. Don't you think she deserves to be with someone who treats her well?" "Of course I do. I love Claire. She's one of my closest friends, which is exactly why I'm worried. When Lucas finds out, and he will find out, it's not going to be pretty. I don't want to see her get hurt again." "I'm not going to hurt her." "Maybe not intentionally, but Noah, you're walking into a minefield. Lucas isn't just going to let this go. He's going to make it his mission to destroy whatever you're building. Then we'll deal with it when it happens," Noah said. "But I'm not going to give up something real because I'm afraid of what Lucas might do." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. When Rebecca spoke again, her voice was softer. "You really care about her already, don't you?" "I don't know if it's already or if it's just that I remembered what it's like to care about someone at all. But yeah, I do." Rebecca sighed. Okay, I get it. Just promise me you'll be careful. Both of you. I promise." "And Noah? For what it's worth, I think you're good for each other. Claire hasn't sounded this happy in years. I just hope it doesn't blow up in your faces." "Me too," Noah said honestly. "Me too." Tuesday took forever to arrive. Noah found himself checking the clock constantly, marking time until 7 o'clock like a teenager counting down to prom. Emma noticed his distraction over dinner. "You're doing it again," she said around a mouthful of spaghetti. "Doing what?" "Being weird. Checking your phone, smiling at nothing. Are you seeing that lady tonight?" Noah had been debating how much to tell Emma. She was 9, old enough to understand that adults dated, but young enough that he didn't want to complicate her life unnecessarily, especially not with a situation that might not last beyond a few weeks. But she was also smart, and she'd figure it out eventually. "Yeah," he said. "We're having dinner." "What's her name?" "Claire." "Is she nice?" "Very nice." Emma twirled more spaghetti onto her fork, her expression thoughtful. "Mom's been dating Kevin for 3 months. She says I'll meet him when things get serious." "Are you and Claire serious?" "It's only our second time seeing each other, kiddo. We're just getting to know each other." "But you like her." "I do." "Then I hope it works out," Emma said simply. "You're nicer when you're happy." Noah felt something catch in his throat. "Am I not usually nice?" "You're always nice, but lately you've been nice in a way that seems like you're trying really hard instead of it just being easy. Does that make sense?" "Yeah, sweetheart, it does." Emma grinned. "Good. Can I have more Parmesan?" Mrs. Chen from next door arrived at 6:30 to watch Emma, same as she did most Tuesday evenings when Noah had errands to run. She was 72, sharp as a tack, and had informed Noah on multiple occasions that he needed to find himself a nice woman before he turned into a hermit. "You look nice," she said when she arrived, eyeing his navy button-down. Special errands tonight? Just dinner with a friend. A friend who you put on cologne for? Emma giggled from the living room. He's going on a date with a lady named Claire. Emma, Noah said in his best dad voice, which had absolutely no effect. Mrs. Chen's face lit up. About time. You're too young to spend every night alone. This Claire, she's nice? She's very nice. Pretty? Mrs. Chen? I'm just making conversation. Have a good time. Emma and I will watch that baking show she likes. Noah escaped before the interrogation could continue, grabbing his keys and heading out to his truck. The restaurant Claire had suggested was in Riverside, a neighborhood he didn't visit often, known for its eclectic mix of shops and restaurants tucked into converted warehouses. He found parking 2 blocks away and walked through the cooling evening air, his hands in his pockets, trying to calm the nervous energy thrumming through him. This wasn't his first date since the divorce. He'd tried a few times over the past couple of years, setups from well-meaning friends or awkward attempts at conversation with women he'd met at Emma's soccer games. They'd all been perfectly fine, perfectly pleasant, and perfectly forgettable. He'd gone through the motions, knowing the whole time that he wasn't really present, wasn't really trying. This felt different. This felt like it mattered. Claire was already there when he arrived, sitting at a small table near the window. She'd changed from her scrubs into dark jeans and a soft gray sweater, her hair loose around her shoulders. She looked up when he walked in, and her smile did something complicated to his chest. "Hey," she said as he slid into the seat across from her. "Hey yourself. How was work?" "Long, chaotic. I had a 7-year-old try to convince me that popsicles counted as a full liquid diet, so I couldn't possibly give him any medicine." Noah laughed. "Did you give him the medicine?" Eventually, after explaining that popsicles are excellent but not quite what the doctor ordered, she paused. "I told Rebecca about us seeing each other. Marcus told me she called you. She called me too. I figured she would. How mad was she?" "More worried than mad. She's protective of you. She's protective of everyone. It's her superpower and her fatal flaw." Claire fiddled with the edge of her menu. "She's also terrified of what Lucas will do when he finds out. So is Marcus. I think they've been comparing apocalypse scenarios. Are they wrong to worry?" Noah considered the question seriously. "No. Lucas is going to lose it when he finds out. But Claire, I spent all day yesterday and today thinking about whether that should stop us, and I keep coming back to the same answer. He doesn't get to control who we see or how we live our lives. Not anymore." "That's easy to say now," Claire said quietly. "But when he shows up, and he will show up, it's going to get ugly. Then we deal with ugly. Together?" The question hung between them, weighted with meaning. Noah reached across the table, his hand palm up in invitation. Claire stared at it for a moment, then placed her hand in his. "Together," he said. The waitress appeared before Claire could respond, cheerful and efficient as she took their orders. Noah tried to focus on the menu, on making a decision, but most of his attention was caught by the feeling of Claire's hand still in his, warm and solid and real. After the waitress left, Claire said, "I haven't done this in a while." "Eaten Thai food?" "Dated. Let myself want something even when it might not work out." She squeezed his hand gently. "It's terrifying." "Yeah," Noah agreed. "It really is. But also kind of exciting?" "Also that." They talked through dinner, the conversation flowing easily between bites of pad thai and green curry. Claire told him about pediatric nursing, about the kids she'd worked with that day, about the parents who broke her heart, and the ones who restored her faith in humanity. Noah talked about the subdivision, about Emma's latest obsession with marine biology, about the deck he'd built that had somehow ended up in a magazine. "Wait, you're actually good at construction?" Claire teased. "I just assumed you were coasting on charm and Marcus's patience." "I'm wounded, deeply wounded." "You'll survive. Tell me more about this famous deck." So he did, pulling out his phone to show her pictures, feeling ridiculously proud when she genuinely seemed impressed. She asked questions, good ones, about materials and design choices, and whether he'd ever considered doing custom work instead of subdivision builds. "I've thought about it," Noah admitted, "but custom work is unpredictable. The schedule, the clients, the income. With Emma depending on me, I can't afford the risk." "That's very responsible." That's very boring. Noah, taking care of your daughter isn't boring, it's admirable. Claire set down her fork, meeting his eyes. You know what I found most attractive about you on Saturday? Not that you're good looking, though you are. Not that you listened, though you did. It was watching you light up when you talked about Emma. The way your whole face changed. That's not boring, that's beautiful. Noah felt heat creep up his neck. I don't know what to say to that. You don't have to say anything, I'm just telling you the truth. They split dessert, some elaborate coconut thing that Noah couldn't have described if his life depended on it, because he was too busy watching Claire laugh at something the couple at the next table had said, her eyes bright and unguarded in a way that made him want to memorize the moment. When the check came, they argued over it until Claire finally said, How about this? You get this one, I get the next one, assuming there is a next one. There will be, Noah said, if you want there to be. I do. They walked out into the night, which had turned properly cold, autumn finally giving way to the first hints of winter. Claire pulled her jacket tighter, and Noah fought the urge to put his arm around her. Too soon, some part of his brain warned. Don't rush. Where'd you park? He asked. 2 blocks that way. You? Same direction. They walked in companionable silence for half a block before Claire said, Can I tell you something that might sound crazy? After the week we've had, I don't think anything qualifies as crazy anymore. Fair point. She took a breath. I spent 4 years after my divorce convinced I was done. Done with relationships, done with trusting anyone, done with letting someone else have that kind of power over me. And I was okay with that. I built a good life. I have friends, work I love, hobbies. I wasn't sitting around waiting for someone to complete me. But sitting across from you tonight, I realized I'd been confusing self-sufficiency with self-protection. I was so busy making sure I couldn't get hurt again that I forgot what it feels like to let someone in. She stopped walking, turning to face him. You make me want to let someone in again, Noah, and that scares the hell out of me. Noah understood exactly what she meant. The terror of wanting something, of allowing yourself to be vulnerable after you'd learned exactly how badly vulnerability could hurt. I'm scared too, he said. Terrified, actually, of screwing this up, of hurting you, of my daughter getting attached and then it all falling apart, of Lucas showing up and destroying everything before we even figure out what this is. So why are we doing this? Because, Noah said slowly, being scared of something means it matters, and I haven't had something that mattered like this in a long time. Claire stepped closer, close enough that he could smell her perfume, something floral and subtle. I'm going to kiss you now, if that's okay. That's more than okay. She rose up on her toes, her hand touching his jaw, and kissed him. It was soft, tentative, a question more than a statement. Noah's hand found the small of her back, pulling her closer, and the kiss deepened into something that felt like an answer. When they broke apart, Claire was smiling. Well, that was worth being terrified for. Yeah, Noah managed. It really was. They made it to Claire's car, hands linked, neither quite ready to say goodbye. She pulled out her keys, then turned back to him. I have Thursday off, if you're free. I can make myself free. What did you have in mind? There's a farmer's market downtown, very low-key, very public. We could walk around, get coffee, actually have a conversation in daylight for once. Sounds perfect. What time? 10? I'll be there. Claire kissed him again, quick and sweet, then climbed into her car. Noah waited until she'd pulled out of the parking spot and driven away before walking to his own truck, feeling like his feet weren't quite touching the ground. His phone rang as he was driving home. Sarah's name flashed across the screen. Hey, what's up? Just wanted to let you know Emma left her library book here. She's going to need it for school tomorrow. Can you drop it off tonight, or I can swing by and grab it? I can drop it off. I'll be there in 20. There was a pause. Is everything okay? You sound different. I'm fine. Good, actually. Good different, or trying to convince yourself you're good different? Noah and Sarah had been divorced for 3 years, but they'd known each other for 12. She could still read him better than almost anyone. Good different, he said. I'll explain when you get here. Sarah arrived 15 minutes later, just as Noah was relieving Mrs. Chen and getting Emma ready for bed.
She handed over the book, then lingered in the doorway, studying his face. Okay, who is she? What makes you think there's a she? Because you're smiling at your phone every 30 seconds, and I haven't seen you do that since before we got married. Who is she? Noah glanced toward Emma's room, where she was loudly brushing her teeth. Her name's Claire. We've been on 2 dates. And I really like her. More than I've liked anyone in years. Sarah's expression was complicated, something between happiness and wistfulness. That's great, Noah. Really, you deserve to be happy. So do you. How are things with Kevin? Good. Different from what you and I were, but good. She hesitated. Does Emma know? She knows I'm seeing someone. I haven't given her details yet. Probably smart. Let it develop first, see if it's going to last before you introduce them. That's the plan. Sarah reached out, squeezed his arm. I mean it, though. I'm happy for you, even if it feels weird to say that. Thanks, Sarah. After she left, Noah got Emma into bed, read her 3 chapters of the marine biology book she was obsessed with, and finally retreated to his own room. His phone had 2 new messages. Claire, made it home. Thank you for tonight. Claire, I can't stop smiling. This is becoming a problem. Noah typed back. Same here. Mrs. Chen definitely thinks I've lost my mind. Claire, Mrs. Chen sounds wise, like Noah. She is. She also told me I needed to find a nice woman before I turned into a hermit. Claire, well, I'm nice, occasionally. Noah, you're perfect. Thursday can't come fast enough. Claire, careful, Reed. You keep saying things like that, and I might start to think you actually like me. Noah, I more than like you, Bennett. There was a longer pause before her next message appeared. Claire, good. Because I more than like you too. Good night, Noah. Noah, good night, Claire. He set his phone on the nightstand and lay there in the dark, listening to the house settle around him, and let himself feel it. The fear, yes, but also the hope. The possibility. The terrifying, exhilarating sense that his carefully controlled life was about to become significantly more complicated. Thursday's farmers market was exactly what Claire had promised. Low-key, public, the kind of place where they could blend into the crowd of couples and families wandering between stalls of fresh produce and handmade crafts. They met at the entrance, Claire in jeans and an oversized sweater, her hair pulled back in a ponytail that made her look younger. Fair warning, she said as they started walking. I take farmers markets very seriously. There will be extensive sampling of baked goods. I can live with that. They wandered through the stalls, Claire stopping to examine heirloom tomatoes and artisan bread, while Noah carried the growing collection of bags. She talked to the vendors like she knew them, asking about crops and families, and Noah watched her come alive in a way he hadn't seen before. What? She asked, catching him staring. Nothing. You just seem really happy here. I am. This is my Saturday morning ritual, usually. I come here, get fresh vegetables and flowers, then go home and actually cook something instead of living on hospital cafeteria food. She picked up a bunch of sunflowers, bright yellow against the gray sky. These okay? I know guys sometimes think flowers are impractical. I think they're great. She added them to his collection of bags with a grin. You're very agreeable. Has anyone ever told you that? My daughter tells me I'm a pushover at least twice a week. Smart kid. They found a coffee stand and sat on a bench overlooking the river, watching boats drift past. Claire wrapped her hands around her cup, the steam rising in the cold air. Can I ask you something? She said. Always. What was your marriage like? With Sarah, I mean. I know it ended, but was it bad or did it just run its course? Noah thought about how to answer. Neither, really, or both. We got married young, right after college, because that's what you did when you'd been together for 2 years and everyone expected it. And for a while it was good. Not great, but good. We were building a life, you know. House, jobs, then Emma. But somewhere in there, we stopped being partners and started being roommates who happened to have a kid together. Did you love her? I thought I did. But looking back, I think I loved the idea of her more than the actual person. We wanted different things, had different priorities. She wanted excitement, adventure, spontaneity. I wanted stability, routine, predictability. Neither of us was wrong. We were just incompatible.
How did it end?
She told me one night that she felt like she was disappearing, that she'd look in the mirror and not recognize herself anymore because she'd spent so long trying to be the person I needed instead of the person she was. And the thing is, I was doing the same thing, trying to be more adventurous, more exciting, when really I just wanted to come home and read bedtime stories to my kid. Claire was quiet for a moment. That's really sad. Yeah, but it was also necessary. We're both happier now. She's with someone who loves that free-spirited side of her, and Emma gets two parents who are actually present instead of two parents who are just going through the motions. Do you ever regret it? Ending the marriage? No. But I regret that it took us so long to be honest about who we actually were. We wasted years trying to force something that was never going to work. He looked at Claire. That's why I'm trying to be really honest with you, even when it's scary. I don't want to pretend to be something I'm not. What if who you are and who I need don't match up? Then we figure that out now instead of 7 years down the road.
Claire leaned her head on his shoulder, and Noah felt the rightness of it, the easy comfort that shouldn't have developed this quickly, but somehow had. I'm falling for you, she said quietly. Just so you know. It's probably too soon to say that, but there it is. Noah's heart kicked hard against his ribs. It's not too soon if it's true. Is it true for you? He thought about lying, about protecting himself, about all the very good reasons to go slow. Then he thought about what he'd just said, about being honest, even when it's scary. Yeah, he said. It's true for me, too. They sat there for a long time, watching the river flow past, and Noah thought about how strange it was that 3 weeks ago he'd been dreading a blind date, and now he was sitting here falling in love with a woman who should have been off limits, who came with complications and consequences he still couldn't fully predict. But she also came with laughter and understanding and the feeling that he'd finally found someone who actually saw him, and liked what she found. That, Noah decided, was worth whatever storm was coming. Because the storm was definitely coming. He could feel it building on the horizon, could sense it in the way his phone had been buzzing all week with texts from mutual friends who'd heard through the grapevine that he and Claire were seeing each other. Word was spreading, and it was only a matter of time before it reached the one person who would care most. We should probably talk about Lucas, Noah said. Claire stiffened slightly. I was hoping we could avoid that for a little longer. So was I. But Claire, people know. Marcus and Rebecca know, which means their friends know, which means it's going to get back to him eventually. We should at least have a plan.
What kind of plan? Lucas isn't exactly reasonable on his best day, and finding out about us isn't going to be his best day. I know, but I'd rather deal with it head on than wait for it to ambush us. Claire pulled away slightly, turning to look at him. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that maybe I should reach out to him, tell him myself before he hears it from someone else. Noah, that's a terrible idea. Why? Because Lucas will lose his mind. He'll say things designed to hurt you, to make you doubt this, to drive a wedge between us before we've even had a chance to figure out what we're doing. He's going to do that anyway. At least this way I'm controlling the narrative. Claire shook her head slowly. You're giving him too much credit. Lucas doesn't care about narratives or honesty or any of that. He cares about control, about winning. And if you reach out to him, you're basically handing him ammunition.
Noah wanted to argue, but he could see the fear in her eyes. Not fear of Lucas himself, but fear of what he could do to this fragile thing they were building. Okay, he said finally. We don't reach out, but when he finds out, and he will, we face it together. Agreed? Agreed. They finished their coffee in silence, the ease of earlier replaced by the weight of reality. By the time they left the market, arms loaded with bags and flowers, the clouds had rolled in properly, threatening rain. I should get this stuff home, Claire said, gesturing to their hall, before the weather turns. Need help carrying it? She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. I've got it. Thank you for today, though. For all of this. Noah walked her to her car, helped her load everything into the trunk. When she turned back to him, he could see she was struggling with something. What is it? He asked. I'm just wondering if we're being selfish, if we're so focused on what we want that we're not thinking about the damage this could cause. To who? Lucas? He caused his own damage, Claire. You're not responsible for his feelings. I know that intellectually, but emotionally? I spent 7 years being responsible for his feelings. That doesn't just go away. Noah cupped her face in his hands, making her look at him. You deserve to be happy. Not guilty, not apologetic, not constantly worried about someone else's reactions. Happy. Do you believe that? I'm trying to. Then keep trying, and let me help. She kissed him then, fierce and almost desperate, like she was trying to convince herself this was real, this was worth it. When she pulled back, her eyes were bright. Okay, she whispered. Okay. Noah watched her drive away, then stood in the parking lot as the first drops of rain began to fall, wondering if they were making the biggest mistake of their lives or the bravest choice. Either way, there was no going back now. The rain that started that Thursday afternoon didn't let up for 3 days. Noah spent most of the weekend inside with Emma, watching movies and building an elaborate fort out of couch cushions while his phone stayed mercifully quiet. Claire texted periodically, sweet messages about nothing important that somehow felt like everything, and for a brief window of time, Noah let himself believe that maybe they'd get lucky. Maybe Lucas wouldn't find out. Maybe they could just exist in this fragile bubble they'd created, at least for a little while longer. That illusion shattered on Monday morning. Noah was pouring his second cup of coffee, still in his work clothes but running early for once, when his phone rang with a number he didn't recognize. He almost let it go to voicemail, but something made him answer. Noah Reed? The voice was unfamiliar, male, with an edge of uncertainty. Yeah, who's this? My name's Derek Chen. I'm Marcus's cousin. We met a few times at barbecues, maybe 5 years back. Noah had a vague memory of someone tall and quiet who worked in finance. Okay. What can I do for you, Derek? Look, this is awkward, but I thought you should know. Lucas Hayes called me last night. Apparently someone told him you've been seeing his ex-wife, and he's pretty worked up about it. He wanted your address. Noah's coffee cup stopped halfway to his mouth. Did you give it to him? Hell no. I don't know what's going on between you guys, but I'm not getting in the middle of it. I just thought you deserved a heads up that he's looking for you. Thanks, Derek. I appreciate the warning. Yeah, well, good luck, man. Lucas sounded pretty unhinged. The call ended, and Noah stood frozen in his kitchen, coffee forgotten, while his brain tried to process the information. Lucas knew. Lucas was looking for him, and if Lucas was calling distant connections trying to track him down, that meant he was beyond rational conversation and well into the territory of confrontation. His phone buzzed with a text from Claire. Claire, Lucas called me last night, 3 times. I didn't answer, but he left voicemails. They were not good. Noah. Derek Chen just called me. Lucas has been asking for my address. Claire. Oh God. Noah, I'm so sorry. I should have known this would happen. Noah. This isn't your fault. Where are you right now? Claire. At work. I have a 12-hour shift. Are you okay? Noah looked around his kitchen at the normal Tuesday morning that had just tilted sideways. Emma was still asleep. He had a job site to get to, and somewhere out there his former best friend was apparently hunting him down. Noah. I'm fine. Focus on work. We'll figure this out. Claire. Be careful, please. Noah. Always am. He pocketed his phone and went through the motions of getting Emma ready for school, making her breakfast, packing her lunch, all while his mind spun through scenarios. The smart thing would be to avoid Lucas entirely, to let this blow over, to maybe send a carefully worded text explaining the situation like adults. But Noah knew Lucas well enough to know that wouldn't work. Once Lucas decided something was a betrayal, no amount of explanation would change his mind. He dropped Emma at school, watched her run through the front doors with her backpack bouncing, and then sat in his truck trying to decide what to do. His phone rang again. Marcus this time. You heard? Marcus said without preamble. Derek called me. Lucas showed up at my house last night, 10:30 at night, pounding on my door, demanding to know if it was true that you were dating Claire. I've never seen him that angry, Noah. Not even when his marriage fell apart. What did you tell him? The truth. That, yeah, you guys have been seeing each other, and that it's none of his damn business who you date. He didn't take it well. Define didn't take it well. He called me a traitor, said I should have stopped it, should have warned him, should have had more loyalty than to let this happen. Then he tried to get me to tell him where you live. And? And I told him to get off my property before I called the cops. Noah, you need to be careful. Lucas isn't thinking straight. He's fixated on this like it's some kind of personal attack. It's not about Claire at all, is it? Noah said slowly. It's about control, about the fact that she moved on and found someone, and it happens to be someone from his old life. Probably, but knowing that doesn't make him any less dangerous right now. Watch your back, okay? Yeah, thanks, Marcus. Noah drove to the job site on autopilot, his hands tight on the steering wheel. He should have felt angry, should have been gearing up for a confrontation, but mostly he just felt tired. Tired of Lucas's drama. Tired of having to justify caring about someone. Tired of the fact that moving forward meant dragging all this history along with him. The day crawled by. Noah threw himself into work, framing walls with an intensity that made his arms ache and his mind blessedly quiet. But every time his phone buzzed, his heart rate kicked up, expecting it to be Lucas or another warning or some new development in this situation that was spiraling beyond his control. It wasn't until 6:30, when Noah was packing up his tools and getting ready to head home, that Marcus came jogging over from his truck. Noah, heads up. Lucas is here. What? He just pulled into the parking lot. Black Audi, same one he's always had. I tried to intercept him, but he walked right past me. Noah turned and saw him. Lucas Hayes standing about 20 yards away next to the partially constructed frame of what would eventually be a 4-bedroom colonial. He looked the same as Noah remembered, but somehow different, harder around the edges. His jaw was tight, his hands clenched at his sides, and even from this distance, Noah could see the anger radiating off him like heat. I've got this, Noah said quietly to Marcus. You sure? Because I can stay. Or I can call. I've got this. Marcus hesitated, then nodded and stepped back, though he didn't leave entirely. Noah appreciated that, appreciated having a witness to whatever was about to happen. Noah walked toward Lucas slowly, keeping his hands visible, his posture non-threatening. The last thing he wanted was for this to escalate into something physical, especially not on a job site with witnesses and equipment and about a dozen ways for someone to get seriously hurt. Lucas, he said when he was close enough to speak without shouting. You son of a bitch. The words were flat, emotionless, which was somehow worse than if Lucas had been yelling. Noah stopped walking, maintaining about 10 feet of distance between them. I know you're angry. Angry? Lucas laughed, sharp and bitter. You think I'm angry? Noah, we were friends, best friends. I trusted you. And this is how you repay that? By going after my ex-wife the second my back is turned? It's been 4 years since your divorce, Lucas, and you cut me out of your life. You don't get to claim best friend status when you haven't spoken to me in that long. Because you all took her side on, Lucas spat. Every single one of you. The moment things got hard, you all decided I was the bad guy, and she was the victim, and you froze me out. We didn't freeze you out. You left. You blocked us on social media, stopped returning calls, told Marcus you didn't need any of us anymore. That was your choice, Lucas. And this? You dating Claire? That's your choice? Yeah, it is. Lucas took a step forward, and Noah saw Marcus tense in his peripheral vision. Do you have any idea what you're doing? She's poison, Noah. She will make you feel like you're everything, like you matter, and then the moment you're not useful anymore, she'll cut you loose. That's what she does. That's not what happened in your marriage. And we both know it. You don't know anything about my marriage. I know enough. I know that Claire spent 7 years trying to be someone she wasn't to make you happy. I know that you controlled every aspect of her life, from what shifts she worked to who she could be friends with. I know that when she finally stood up for herself, you made sure everyone knew it was her fault. Lucas's face flushed dark red. She told you that? She fed you that sob story, and you just believed her? Christ, Noah, I thought you were smarter than this. I believe her because I watched it happen, Lucas. I watched you dismiss her opinions at dinners. I watched you make jokes at her expense. I watched you treat her like an accessory instead of a partner. We all did. We just didn't say anything because you were our friend and we thought it wasn't our place. You don't get to rewrite history to make yourself feel better about this betrayal. This isn't a betrayal. Noah said, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. You and I aren't friends anymore. You made that choice 4 years ago. Claire is free to date whoever she wants. So am I. The fact that we found each other doesn't have anything to do with you. It has everything to do with me, Lucas said, and his voice had gone quiet, dangerous. She's doing this to hurt me. Don't you see that? This whole thing is just another way for her to punish me. Lucas, Claire barely thinks about you anymore. She's moved on. She's built a whole new life that doesn't include you at all. This isn't about you. The words landed like a physical blow. Lucas's expression shifted through several emotions too quickly to track, landing on something that looked almost like pain before hardening back into anger. You'll regret this, he said. When she shows her true colors, when she turns on you like she turned on me, you'll understand. And when you come crawling back looking for sympathy, don't expect to find it. I won't be crawling back. We'll see. Lucas turned to leave, then stopped, looking back over his shoulder. You know what the worst part is? I came here thinking maybe we could talk, that maybe you'd see reason, or at least have the decency to apologize. But you're so far gone you can't even see what she's doing to you. What she's doing to me, Noah said carefully, is making me happy. For the first time in years, I'm actually happy. And I'm sorry if that hurts you, Lucas, I really am. But I'm not going to give that up because you can't handle the fact that your ex-wife moved on. She didn't move on. She moved to someone she knew would hurt me most. That's your ego talking, not reality. Lucas stared at him for a long moment, and Noah could see him struggling with something, could see the war happening behind his eyes. For a second, Noah thought maybe he was getting through. Maybe Lucas would actually hear him. Then the moment passed, and Lucas's expression went cold. Stay away from my family, he said. You don't have a family with her anymore. You gave that up when you signed the divorce papers. I'm not talking about Claire. I'm talking about my parents, my sister, my friends. Anyone who matters to me. You want to make this choice? Fine. But you're choosing her over all of us. Once you cross that line, Noah, you don't get to come back. Then I guess I'm crossing the line. Lucas walked away without another word, climbing into his black Audi and peeling out of the parking lot fast enough to leave tire marks on the gravel. Noah stood there watching him go, his heart pounding, his hands shaking with unused adrenaline. Marcus appeared at his elbow. You okay? Yeah, I think so. That was intense. Yeah. You handled it well, though. Stayed calm, didn't take the bait. I was sure he was going to take a swing at you. So was I. Noah ran a hand through his hair, trying to settle himself. I need to call Claire. Let her know what happened before Lucas tries to contact her again. Good idea. You want to grab a beer after? Decompress a little? Can't. I've got Emma tonight. But thanks, Marcus. Noah made it to his truck before his legs went unsteady. He sat in the driver's seat, gripping the steering wheel, and let himself feel it. The anger, the sadness, the finality of watching a friendship that had once meant everything turn to ash. His phone buzzed. Claire. Claire. Are you okay? I had this feeling something happened. Noah. Lucas showed up at the job site. We talked. It went about as well as expected. Claire. Did he hurt you? Noah. No, just a lot of angry words. He's convinced you're using me to get back at him. Claire. That's insane. Noah. I know, I told him that. He didn't believe me. There was a long pause before her next message. Claire. Noah, maybe we should take a step back. Let things cool down. If this is going to cause this much damage. Noah. No. Claire. No. Noah. I'm not letting him win. I'm not letting him control my life or make me doubt us. We knew this was going to be hard. We talked about it. I'm not backing down now. Claire. But if he's making threats? Noah. He's not making threats. He's just angry. And he has a right to be angry. But he doesn't have a right to tell me who I can care about. Another pause. Claire. I'm falling in love with you. You know that, right? Noah's breath caught. They danced around the word before, talked about feelings and connection and all the careful synonyms people used when they were afraid to say the real thing. But seeing it written out, stark and honest on his phone screen, made it real in a way nothing else had. Noah. I'm falling in love with you too. That's why I'm not walking away.
Claire. Can I see you tonight? Noah. I have Emma, but tomorrow? I can get Mrs. Chen to stay late. Claire. Tomorrow, my place. I'll make dinner. Noah. It's a date. He drove home in a daze, his mind replaying the confrontation with Lucas on an endless loop. Part of him kept searching for the moment where he could have said something different, something that might have made Lucas understand. But the rational part of his brain knew it wouldn't have mattered. Lucas wasn't interested in understanding. He was interested in being right, in maintaining control, in making sure everyone knew he was the victim in this story. Emma was full of energy when he picked her up from aftercare, chattering about a project they were doing on ocean ecosystems. Noah tried to focus on her words, to be present, but his mind kept drifting. She noticed, of course. She always did. Dad, you're doing the thing again. What thing? The thing where you're here but not really here. Like your body is listening, but your brain is somewhere else. Noah pulled into their driveway and turned to look at his daughter, 9 years old and already too perceptive for her own good. You're right. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I had a rough day at work. Is it about that lady, Claire? Partly, yeah. Emma unbuckled her seatbelt but didn't get out of the car. Do you love her? The question hit Noah sideways. That's a pretty big question, kiddo.
But do you? Noah thought about lying, about deflecting, about all the ways he could protect Emma from adult complications. Then he remembered what he'd told Claire about being honest, even when it's scary. Yeah, he said. I think I do. Does she love you back? I think so. Then why do you look so sad? Noah reached over and tucked a strand of hair behind Emma's ear. Because sometimes loving someone is complicated. There are people who don't want us to be together, and that makes things hard. Why don't they want you to be together? It's a long story, but basically, Claire used to be married to someone I used to be friends with, and he's not happy that we're seeing each other. Emma frowned, processing this. But they're not married anymore, right? Right. And you're not friends with him anymore? Not really, no. Then why does he get to have an opinion? Out of the mouths of babes, Noah thought. That's an excellent question, sweetheart. And the truth is, he doesn't. But that doesn't stop him from being angry about it. Is he going to try to hurt you? No, nothing like that. He's just upset. Emma studied his face for a long moment, and Noah could see her working through something. Finally, she said, Mom always says that other people's feelings aren't our responsibility, that we should be kind, but we can't control how other people react to our choices. Your mom's very smart. So if Claire makes you happy and you make her happy, then it doesn't matter if someone else is mad about it, right? Right. Okay then. Emma opened her door and hopped out. Can we have spaghetti for dinner? The kind with the meatballs that are too big? Just like that, the conversation was over, the wisdom dispensed, and they were back to the comfortable routine of dinner and homework and bedtime. But Emma's words stayed with Noah through the evening, a reminder from the most unexpected source that he was doing the right thing. That night, after Emma was asleep, Noah's phone rang with a number he did recognize this time. Lucas's mother, Patricia. He almost didn't answer. Patricia had always been kind to him, had treated him like a second son during the years he and Lucas were inseparable. But he knew why she was calling, knew what this conversation was going to be. Hello, Patricia. Noah, honey, I just heard about what happened at your work today. Are you all right? The concern in her voice made his chest ache. I'm fine. Lucas and I had words, but nobody got hurt. I'm glad to hear that. I want you to know I tried to talk to him. I told him he was being unreasonable, that he couldn't expect people to stay frozen in time just because his marriage ended. But he wouldn't listen. I appreciate you trying. Noah, can I ask you something? And I want you to be honest with me. Of course. Are you doing this to hurt him? Even subconsciously? Because I know you were angry when he cut you out of his life, and I would understand if— No, Noah interrupted gently. Patricia, I promise you, this has nothing to do with Lucas. I care about Claire, really care about her. I didn't go looking for this, it just happened. And yeah, the timing is complicated, and I know it hurts Lucas, but that doesn't make it wrong. Patricia was quiet for a moment. I believe you. And for what it's worth, I think you'd be good for each other. Claire's a lovely woman, and she deserves someone who will treat her well.
Lucas never quite figured out how to do that. Does he know you're calling me? He absolutely does not, and I'd appreciate if you didn't mention it. He's already furious with me for not taking his side completely. She sighed.
He's my son, and I love him, but he can be incredibly stubborn when he decides someone has wronged him.
I know, I remember.
Just be careful, okay? And take care of Claire. She's been through enough.
I will.
Thank you, Patricia. The call ended, and Noah sat in the dark living room wondering how many more of these conversations he was going to have to navigate. How many more people would feel the need to weigh in, to take sides, to make this situation even more complicated than it already was. His phone buzzed with a text from Claire. Claire, can't sleep. Keep thinking about you. Noah. Same. Tomorrow can't come soon enough. Claire. Noah, are you sure about this? About us? Because if you're having second thoughts after what happened with Lucas, I would understand. Noah. I'm not having second thoughts. Are you? Claire. No, but I'm scared. Noah. Me too. But I'm more scared of losing you than I am of dealing with Lucas. Claire. When did you get so brave? Noah. When I met someone worth being brave for. Claire. Stop making me cry at 1 a.m. Noah. Good tears or bad tears? Claire. Good tears, the best tears. Go to sleep, Reed. Dream about me. Noah. Always do. The next day passed in a fog of anticipation. Noah worked through his shift on autopilot, declined Marcus's offer to grab lunch, and left the job site the moment the clock hit 5. He went home, showered, changed into clean jeans and a button-down shirt that Emma declared actually good for once, and tried not to pace while waiting for Mrs. Chen to arrive. Hot date? Mrs. Chen asked when she showed up at 6:15. Dinner with Claire. The one you're getting all worked up over? I'm not worked up. You've changed shirts 3 times, Emma told me. Mrs. Chen patted his arm. It's good to see you caring about something other than work and this child. Go, have fun. Stay out as late as you want. Claire's apartment was in a converted warehouse in the Arts District, all exposed brick and high ceilings and windows that overlooked the river. She answered the door in jeans and a soft blue sweater, her hair down, her feet bare, and Noah felt something in his chest shift and settle at the sight of her. Hi, she said, and her smile was nervous and hopeful all at once. Hi yourself. She pulled him inside, and the apartment smelled like garlic and tomatoes and something sweet baking in the oven. Music played softly from a speaker in the kitchen, something acoustic and mellow. Wine? Claire offered. Please. She poured them both glasses of red, and they stood in her kitchen while she stirred something on the stove and Noah tried to find words for everything he was feeling. How was your day? Claire asked. Long. I couldn't stop thinking about seeing you. Same. She set down the spoon, turned to face him properly. Noah, I need to say something before we go any further. His stomach dropped. Okay. Yesterday, when Lucas showed up at your job site, you could have walked away. You could have told him he was right, that we were being stupid and reckless, and that it wasn't worth the drama. But you didn't. You stood up for us. For me. And I need you to know that nobody has ever done that before. Claire, let me finish. She took a breath. Lucas spent 7 years making me feel like I was the problem. Like if I could just be quieter, more agreeable, less demanding, everything would be perfect. And even after the divorce, even after therapy, part of me still believed that. Still thought maybe I was the common denominator in all my failed relationships, that maybe I was asking for too much. You're not. I know that now because you make me feel like I'm not too much. Like wanting to be seen and heard and valued isn't some impossible standard. Like I deserve to be someone's first choice instead of their convenient option. Her eyes were bright. I'm in love with you, Noah. Completely, terrifyingly in love with you. And I needed to say that out loud, in person, where you can see my face and know I mean it. Noah set down his wine glass and closed the distance between them, his hands finding her waist, pulling her close. I love you too. And I need you to know that standing up to Lucas wasn't brave, it was just honest. Because there was never a version of yesterday where I chose him over you, not even for a second. Claire kissed him then, and it was different from the careful kisses they'd shared before. This was unguarded, honest, full of everything they'd been holding back. Noah felt her hands slide into his hair, felt himself backing her against the counter, felt the world narrow to just this, just her, just them. The timer on the oven went off, shrill and insistent. They broke apart, both breathing hard, and Claire laughed. "Terrible timing," she said. "The worst. I should probably deal with dinner before something burns." Probably. But neither of them moved for another moment, just stood there looking at each other with matching expressions of wonder and disbelief that this was real, this was happening, this was theirs. Dinner was pasta with homemade sauce and garlic bread that was slightly burnt around the edges because they kept getting distracted kissing in the kitchen. They ate at her small dining table, knees touching underneath, and talked about everything and nothing. Claire told him about her nursing program, about the moment she'd realized she wanted to work with kids instead of adults. Noah told her about the deck that had gotten published, about his dream of maybe starting his own custom building business someday. "Why don't you?" Claire asked. "Because it's risky. Because Emma depends on me for stability. But she also learns from watching you, right? What you're teaching her now is that it's better to be safe than to chase what you actually want." Noah turned that over in his mind. "I never thought about it that way. My dad worked a job he hated for 30 years because it was stable. And you know what I remember most from my childhood? How exhausted he always looked. How there was this sadness in his eyes even when he was smiling. I don't want that for Emma. I don't want that for you." "What do you want for me?" Claire reached across the table, laced her fingers through his. "I want you to be happy. Challenged. Excited about your work instead of just grinding through it. I want you to show Emma that it's okay to want more, to risk more, to believe you deserve more." You make it sound simple. It's not simple, it's terrifying. But you know what's more terrifying? Waking up 20 years from now and realizing you never even tried. They moved to the couch after dinner. Claire curled against Noah's side and talked until the clock on her wall showed nearly midnight. Talked about Emma, about when Claire might meet her, about how to navigate that introduction carefully. Talked about Noah's ex-wife, about whether they should tell her about Claire before Emma did. Talked about Lucas, about whether he'd ever calm down or if this was going to be a permanent wedge. "I don't know if he'll forgive me," Claire said quietly. "Part of me hopes he will eventually just so he can move on, but the bigger part doesn't really care anymore. Is that terrible?" "No, it's healthy. Patricia called me yesterday. Did she call you too?" "Yeah." She apologized for Lucas's behavior, for the position we're in, for not seeing what her son was really like during our marriage. Claire's voice was thick. She said she should have said something, should have intervened, should have at least asked if I was okay. "What did you tell her?" "That it wasn't her responsibility to fix her adult son's marriage. That I appreciated her kindness, but I didn't blame her for anything." Claire looked up at Noah. "She really loves him, you know. Despite everything, despite seeing his flaws clearly now, she still loves him. That's what good parents do, I guess." Noah thought about Emma, about how he'd love her no matter what mistakes she made, what wrong turns she took. "Yeah, it is." "Do you think we're making a mistake?" Claire asked. "Not loving each other, but doing it now, like this, with all this history attached?" "Honestly, I don't know. Maybe we should have waited, let more time pass, made sure Lucas was really over you before starting something. But Claire, I don't want to wait. I don't want to put my life on hold waiting for someone else to be okay with my choices. I've done that before, and it didn't make me happy." "Me too." She pressed closer, her head on his chest. "So we're really doing this? Despite everything?" "Despite everything." They stayed like that for a long time, wrapped up in each other, and Noah felt something settle in his chest that had been restless for years. This was right. Complicated, messy, maybe even reckless, but right. His phone buzzed around 12:30. A text from a number he didn't recognize. "You think you won. You think you get to ride off into the sunset with her and everything's fine. But you don't know her like I do. You don't know what she's capable of. When it all falls apart, and it will, remember that I tried to warn you." Noah showed Claire the message. She read it, her expression unreadable, then took his phone and blocked the number. "He's going to keep trying," she said. To get in your head, to make you doubt us. You know that, right? Yeah, but it won't work. How can you be so sure? Because I know you, the real you, not the version Lucas created in his head to justify his own behavior. Noah tilted her chin up, made her look at him. And I know us, what we have, what we're building. That's real. Whatever Lucas thinks he knows, whatever he tries to tell me, it doesn't change what I feel when I'm with you. Claire's eyes filled with tears. How did I get so lucky? Pretty sure I'm the lucky one here. They kissed again, slower this time, and Noah felt her smile against his mouth. When they finally broke apart, Claire said, Stay, tonight. I don't want you to go. Noah thought about Mrs. Chen, about Emma, about all the very good reasons he should go home. Then he thought about Claire's hand in his, about the way she looked at him like he was something precious, about the fact that he'd spent 3 years being careful and cautious, and it hadn't protected him from anything. Okay, he said. I'll stay. They fell asleep on her couch, tangled together, while the city lights flickered through her windows, and somewhere across town, Lucas Hayes sat alone with his anger and his certainty that he'd been wronged. But in Claire's apartment, wrapped in warmth and possibility, Noah Reed finally stopped waiting for permission to be happy. And that, he thought as he drifted off, was worth whatever came next. Noah woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the smell of coffee brewing somewhere nearby. For a disoriented moment, he couldn't remember where he was. Then Claire appeared in the doorway holding 2 mugs and wearing one of his shirts from last night, and everything came rushing back. Morning, she said, her voice still rough with sleep. I made coffee. Fair warning, it's strong enough to strip paint. Perfect. Noah sat up, taking the offered mug. His back ached from sleeping on the couch, but he couldn't remember the last time he'd felt this content. What time is it? Almost 7. You should probably head home soon if you want to see Emma before school. Reality crashed back in. Emma. Mrs. Chen. The fact that he'd stayed out all night without really thinking through the logistics. Noah pulled out his phone and found 3 texts from Mrs. Chen, each one more amused than the last. Mrs. Chen. Emma's asleep. Don't rush back. Mrs. Chen. It's past midnight. I'm assuming things are going well. Mrs. Chen. I'll get Emma ready for school in the morning. You owe me details later. Noah showed Claire the messages. She laughed, curling up beside him on the couch. I like Mrs. Chen already. She's going to grill me mercilessly when I get home. Good. You deserve to be grilled. Claire kissed his shoulder. Last night was perfect. Yeah, it was. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, drinking coffee and watching the city wake up through her windows. Noah knew he needed to leave, needed to get home and maintain some semblance of normalcy, but he was reluctant to break this bubble they'd created. We should probably talk about what happens next, Claire said finally. I know. Lucas isn't going to give up. Last night's text proves that. He's going to keep trying to wedge himself between us. Let him try. Noah set down his coffee. Claire, I meant what I said last night. I'm not walking away from this. From us. Whatever Lucas throws at us, we handle it together. Even if it gets worse before it gets better? Even then. Claire studied his face like she was searching for cracks in his certainty. Whatever she found must have satisfied her because she nodded slowly. Okay. Together. Noah made it home by 8, walking into a kitchen where Mrs. Chen was making pancakes and Emma was doing homework she'd forgotten about the night before. Emma looked up with a grin that was far too knowing for a 9-year-old. You stayed at Claire's house, she announced. Emma, Noah warned. What? You did. Mrs. Chen told me. Mrs. Chen had the grace to look slightly apologetic. She asked where you were. I said you were having dinner with a friend and might be late. And I said friends don't make you smile like that, so it had to be Claire, Emma finished triumphantly. Can I meet her, please? Noah looked at Mrs. Chen, who just shrugged as if to say this was his mess to handle. He pulled out a chair and sat down across from his daughter. Eventually, yes. But not yet, okay? Claire and I are still getting to know each other. I don't want to introduce you until we're sure this is going to last. But you love her. Yes, I do. But love doesn't always mean forever, sweetheart. Sometimes grown-ups need time to figure out if they're right for each other long term. Emma considered this, her pencil tapping against her math worksheet. Mom introduced me to Kevin after 3 dates. Did she? Yep. He's nice. Kind of boring, but nice. He lets me pick the movies. She looked up at Noah with those two perceptive eyes. Is Claire boring? Not even a little bit. Then I definitely want to meet her. Noah ruffled her hair. Soon, I promise. Now finish your homework before the bus comes. After Emma left for school and Mrs. Chen departed with a wink and a command to tell her everything later, Noah found himself alone with his thoughts. He should have felt anxious about how fast things were moving with Claire, should have been second-guessing his decision to stay the night, should have been worrying about Lucas's next move. Instead, he felt calm, settled, like he'd finally found something worth holding on to. His phone rang. Sarah. Hey, he answered. Everything okay? That depends. Is it true you're dating Lucas Hayes' ex-wife? Noah closed his eyes. How did you hear about that? Kevin knows someone who knows Marcus. Apparently it's making the rounds in our old social circle. Noah, what are you thinking? I'm thinking I met someone who makes me happy, and I'm tired of apologizing for that. I'm not asking you to apologize. I'm asking you to think about Emma. If this turns into some big dramatic thing, she's going to be caught in the middle. It won't affect Emma. Won't it? Lucas is vindictive, Noah. You know that. If he decides to make trouble, it's not just going to impact you. It's going to impact everyone around you. Noah felt a flash of irritation. Since when do you care about Lucas's feelings? You couldn't stand him when we were married. You called him manipulative and controlling. I did, because he was. But that doesn't mean I want you poking that particular bear while our daughter is in the blast radius. Emma is fine. She knows I'm seeing someone, she's happy for me, and she's completely insulated from whatever drama Lucas wants to create. Sarah was quiet for a moment. You really care about this woman. I love her. After 2 weeks? After 2 weeks of actually being present in my own life instead of sleepwalking through it? Sarah, I know this looks fast from the outside, but it feels right. More right than anything has felt in years. Another pause. Okay, I trust your judgment. Just be careful, all right? And if things do get messy, keep me in the loop. I don't want to find out about drama affecting Emma from someone else. I will. Thank you. The call ended and Noah stood in his kitchen wondering how many more people were going to feel entitled to weigh in on his relationship. How many more conversations he'd have to navigate, defending choices that shouldn't require defending. The week that followed settled into a new rhythm. Noah spent his days at the job site, his evenings with Emma, and every spare moment texting Claire. They saw each other twice more, once for lunch in a busy restaurant where they could hide in plain sight, and once for another dinner at her apartment where they talked until 2 in the morning about everything and nothing. Lucas stayed ominously quiet. No more texts, no more appearances, no more angry phone calls to mutual friends. It should have been a relief, but instead it felt like the calm before a storm. He's planning something, Claire said on Friday night. They were at her place again, sprawled on her couch with takeout containers scattered across the coffee table. I know him. This silence isn't him giving up. It's him regrouping. Let him regroup. We're not doing anything wrong. Noah, you have more faith in people's rationality than I do. I have faith in us, Noah corrected. Whatever Lucas does, we'll handle it. As if summoned by the conversation, Noah's phone rang. Marcus. You need to get down to Murphy's bar, Marcus said without preamble. Right now. Noah sat up straight. Why? What's going on? Lucas is here. He's drunk, he's been buying rounds for everyone, and he's telling anyone who will listen about how you stole his wife and betrayed him. It's getting ugly, Noah. I tried to calm him down, but he's not listening to me. I'll be there in 15 minutes. Claire grabbed his arm as he stood. I'm coming with you. Claire, no. That's exactly what he wants. I don't care what he wants. If he's going to air our business in public, I'm going to be there to set the record straight. Noah wanted to argue, wanted to protect her from whatever scene was about to unfold, but he could see the determination in her eyes and knew it would be pointless. Okay, but we stay calm, we don't engage, and we leave the moment things start to escalate. Agreed? Agreed. Murphy's bar was packed when they arrived, the Friday night crowd filling every table and clustered 3 deep at the bar. Noah spotted Marcus immediately, standing near the back with a worried expression. He waved them over urgently. "He's over there," Marcus said, pointing to a corner booth where Lucas sat surrounded by people Noah vaguely recognized from their old friend group. "He's been at it for an hour. Started with subtle jabs, but it's getting more direct." As if on cue, Lucas's voice rose above the din. "And the best part? The absolute best part? He sat there at my wedding, gave this whole speech about brotherhood and loyalty, and then couldn't wait to move in on my wife the second we split. Talk about playing the long game." Noah felt Claire tense beside him. He squeezed her hand. "We should leave. This isn't worth it." But Lucas had spotted them. His face lit up with something that looked almost like triumph. "There he is, the man of the hour!" He stood, swaying slightly, his voice loud enough that conversations around them stopped. "Noah Reed, everybody. My former best friend. Current boyfriend of my ex-wife. Tell me, Noah, how does it feel to be that guy?" The bar had gone quiet. Noah could feel dozens of eyes on them, could see phones being pulled out, could practically hear the gossip forming in real time. "Lucas, you're drunk. Go home." "I'm not drunk enough for this conversation." Lucas took a step forward, and someone grabbed his arm. He shook them off. "You know what's funny? I actually thought you were different, thought you had integrity. But you're just like everyone else, aren't you? Saw an opportunity and took it. Didn't care who you hurt."
"That's not what happened," Claire said, her voice steady despite the tremor Noah could feel in her hand. "Noah and I met by accident. We didn't plan this." "Oh, you're here too. Perfect. The happy couple." Lucas's smile was ugly. "Tell me, Claire, how long were you planning this? How long were you waiting to find someone from my past just to rub it in my face?" "I wasn't waiting for anything. I moved on. Something you clearly haven't done." "Moved on?" Lucas laughed, sharp and bitter. "You destroyed 7 years of my life and then moved on. Must be nice to walk away from wreckage without looking back." "I destroyed nothing," Claire said, and Noah heard steel in her voice now. "I left a marriage where I was diminished, controlled, and made to feel less than. You want to talk about wreckage? Let's talk about the person I was when we got divorced. The person who'd forgotten how to make a decision without your approval. The person who worked herself into exhaustion because you told her it was the only way to be respected. That's wreckage, Lucas." The bar was dead silent now. Lucas's face had gone pale, then red. "That's a lie. It's not. And deep down, you know it's not. You just can't admit it because that would mean accepting responsibility." Claire took a step forward, and Noah wanted to pull her back but forced himself to let her speak. "I don't hate you. I actually feel sorry for you because you're so fixated on being the victim that you can't see you're the only one still living in the past. You turned everyone against me. No, you did that yourself when you cut everyone out of your life, when you made them choose between your version of events and reality, when you decided that anyone who didn't take your side completely was a traitor." Claire's voice softened slightly. "I'm not doing this to hurt you. I'm doing this because I deserve to be happy. We both do. But happiness doesn't mean keeping you in the center of my world anymore." Lucas stared at her like she'd slapped him. The anger in his face had shifted into something rawer, more vulnerable. For a moment, Noah thought maybe Claire had gotten through to him, that maybe this could end without further damage. Then Lucas turned to Noah. "You think you know her? You think this is real? She's using you, man. To punish me, to make herself feel better, whatever. But the moment she's done, the moment you're not useful anymore, she'll do to you exactly what she did to me." "No," Noah said quietly. "She won't. Because I'm not you, Lucas. I don't need to control her to feel secure. I don't need her to be smaller so I can feel bigger. I actually love her for who she is, not for who I think she should be. You've known her for 3 weeks. And in those 3 weeks, I've seen her more clearly than you did in 7 years." The words hung in the air between them. Noah watched Lucas's expression cycle through emotions too quickly to track, landing finally on something that looked like devastation. "I hope you're right," Lucas said, his voice suddenly exhausted. "I hope this works out for you. I hope she's everything you think she is. Because if I'm wrong,
If I've been the problem all along, then I wasted 7 years and destroyed the best thing that ever happened to me over my own ego. The admission shocked everyone into silence. Claire's hand tightened in Noah's. Lucas, she said gently. Don't. He held up a hand. I can't do this here. I can't. He turned and pushed through the crowd toward the door, leaving a wake of stunned silence behind him. Noah looked at Claire. Should we? No, let him go. He needs to process this on his own. Marcus appeared at Noah's elbow. That was intense. Yeah. You guys okay? We will be. Claire's voice was shaky but certain. Can we get out of here? They left the bar to the sound of conversations restarting, phones buzzing with texts, the social media machine already churning. Noah knew by tomorrow everyone would have seen videos of the confrontation, would have opinions about who was right and who was wrong. But walking out into the cool night air with Claire's hand in his, Noah found he didn't care. They drove to Claire's apartment in silence. Once inside, Claire collapsed onto her couch, her hands shaking. I didn't mean for that to happen, she said. I just wanted him to hear the truth, to maybe start processing what actually went wrong instead of rewriting history. I know. Do you think it worked? That speech at the end about maybe being wrong? I don't know, maybe. Or maybe it was just the alcohol talking and tomorrow he'll be right back to being angry. Claire pulled her knees to her chest. Part of me feels terrible, like I just destroyed him in front of everyone. You didn't destroy him. You told the truth. There's a difference. Noah sat beside her, pulling her close. And whatever guilt you're feeling, that's proof that you're not the person he tried to make you believe you were. Someone actually cruel wouldn't care. I hate that I still care about his feelings. That's what makes you a good person. They sat like that for a long time, processing the evening, until Claire's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then showed Noah the screen. It was a text from Patricia. Patricia. I heard about what happened at the bar. Are you all right? Claire. I'm okay. Is Lucas? Patricia. He's home. Sober now, very quiet. I think you might have gotten through to him, honey. Thank you for being brave enough to tell him what he needed to hear. Claire's eyes filled with tears. She typed back a simple thank you, then set her phone aside. I need to tell you something, she said. Okay. When Lucas and I first started having problems, I went to therapy. The therapist asked me what I wanted from the marriage, and I couldn't answer. I literally sat there for 10 minutes trying to figure out what I wanted, and I couldn't do it because I'd spent so long focusing on what Lucas wanted that I'd lost track of myself completely. Noah waited, sensing there was more. Tonight, when Lucas said I was using you, asked what I wanted from this, I knew the answer immediately. I want honesty. I want partnership. I want someone who sees my strength as something to celebrate instead of something to compete with. I want to wake up every morning and feel excited about my life instead of exhausted by it. And I want all of that with you. You have it, Noah said. All of it. For as long as you want it. Even after that disaster at the bar? Especially after that. Claire, you stood up for yourself, for us. You didn't back down even when it would have been easier. That's not a disaster. That's courage. She kissed him then, deep and desperate, like she was trying to prove something to herself. When they broke apart, she said, Stay. Again. I need to get home to Emma in the morning. I know, but stay tonight, please. Noah called Mrs. Chen, who answered on the first ring with, I already told Emma you'd be home tomorrow. Go be happy. They moved to Claire's bedroom this time, and Noah felt the shift between them. This wasn't just attraction or comfort anymore. This was commitment. This was choosing each other despite the cost, despite the complications, despite every logical reason to walk away. Later, with Claire asleep in his arms and the city lights painting shadows across her ceiling, Noah's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. He almost ignored it, but something made him check. Lucas. I'm sorry. For tonight. For a lot of things. You were right. I made Claire small so I could feel big. And I lost the best parts of my life because I couldn't handle anyone being better at anything than I was. I don't expect forgiveness from either of you. But I need you to know that I'm going to work on being better, on letting go. You deserve to be happy. So does she. I'm sorry it took me this long to see that. Noah stared at the message for a long time. He thought about waking Claire, showing her, processing it together. But she looked peaceful, finally relaxed after weeks of tension, and he didn't want to disturb that. Instead, he typed back a simple response. Noah, thank you. I hope you find peace, Lucas. I really do. He set his phone aside and pulled Claire closer, feeling the steady rhythm of her breathing. Tomorrow they'd deal with the fallout from the bar, with the questions from friends and family, with figuring out how to move forward now that everything was out in the open. But tonight, in this moment, they were just two people who'd found each other against all odds and decided that what they had was worth fighting for. And that was enough. The next morning brought texts from Marcus, Rebecca, even a few people Noah hadn't talked to in years, all wanting to know if he and Claire were okay. Noah answered them while Claire made breakfast, giving abbreviated versions of "we're fine," until his fingers hurt from typing. Emma called around 9. Mrs. Chen showed me videos from last night. Are you famous now? God, I hope not. Who showed you videos? Kevin. He said people on his Facebook are sharing them. You look really serious in them, Dad. It was a serious conversation, sweetheart. Is Claire okay? The videos said some mean things about her. Noah's chest tightened. He'd been so focused on the immediate situation that he hadn't thought about how this would follow Claire online, how strangers with opinions would dissect their lives.
She's okay. We both are. I'll be home soon, all right? Okay. Love you, Dad. Love you too, kiddo. Claire was standing in the kitchen doorway when he hung up. People are posting videos? Apparently. Should we look? Absolutely not. She smiled, but it was shaky. You're probably right. Nothing good ever comes from reading the comments. They spent the rest of the morning deliberately not checking social media, instead making French toast and talking about normal things like weekend plans and whether Claire should finally get around to painting her bedroom. It was aggressively ordinary, and Noah loved every second of it. Around noon, his phone rang with a number he recognized this time. Patricia. I wanted to let you both know that Lucas left town this morning. He's going to stay with his sister in Portland for a while. Get some distance, clear his head. Is he okay? Noah asked, putting the phone on speaker so Claire could hear. He will be. Last night shook him up, but I think in a good way. He's talking about therapy, about actually dealing with why his marriage ended instead of just being angry about it. It's a start. That's good, Claire said. I'm glad he's getting help. Me too, honey, and I want you both to know that I support this. Whatever you two have, it's real, and it's good, and Lucas needs to accept that. I've told him as much. After the call ended, Claire leaned against Noah's shoulder. Do you think he'll actually follow through with the therapy? I don't know, but that's not our responsibility. I know, it's just strange. I spent so long hoping he'd get help, that he'd work on himself, and now that he might actually do it, I feel guilty for moving on. You're allowed to move on. You're allowed to be happy. Those things aren't mutually exclusive with wanting Lucas to heal. When did you get so wise? I have a very smart 9-year-old who keeps me on my toes, Claire smiled. Speaking of Emma, when can I meet her? The question had been coming, Noah knew, but it still made his stomach flip. Introducing Claire to Emma felt like the final step, the one that would make this relationship impossible to walk back from. Are you sure you're ready for that? I'm terrified. But yes, I'm ready, if you are. Noah thought about Emma's questions, her excitement, her uncanny ability to read people. If he brought Claire home, Emma would know immediately how serious this was. There'd be no pretending this was casual, no maintaining plausible deniability. Okay, he said. Next weekend. Nothing formal, just dinner at my place. Low pressure. You're cooking? I make an excellent spaghetti. That's your signature dish, isn't it? It's literally the only thing I cook well, yes. Claire laughed, and the sound filled her apartment with something that felt like hope. They spent the rest of the day deliberately not thinking about Lucas, about the videos circulating online, about all the ways this could still go wrong. Instead, they talked about the future, about what next weekend would look like, about whether Emma would like Claire, about how to navigate the inevitable complications of blending their lives. And for the first time since this whole thing started, Noah let himself believe that maybe, just maybe, they were going to be okay. The week leading up to Claire meeting Emma passed in a blur of nervous energy and overthinking. Noah changed the dinner menu 3 times, reorganized his living room twice, and had to talk himself out of buying new furniture at least once. Emma noticed his anxiety and found it endlessly entertaining. "Dad, you're being weird again," she announced on Thursday evening while they were doing dishes. "Weirder than usual, actually." "I'm not being weird. You alphabetized the spice rack. We have like 6 spices. Who alphabetizes 6 spices?" Noah looked at the spice rack in question and had to concede her point. "I just want everything to be nice when Claire comes over." "She's going to like you anyway. She already likes you. That's why she's your girlfriend." Emma handed him a plate to dry. "I'm the one she needs to impress." Emma: "What?" "It's true. You already decided you like her. I'm the wild card." "When did you get so grown up?" "I've always been grown up. You just noticed."
She grinned at him. "Don't worry, Dad. I'll be nice. Unless she's mean to you, then I'll be mean to her. That's very protective of you. That's what family does." Saturday arrived with unseasonably warm weather, the kind of late autumn day that felt like a gift. Noah had recruited Emma to help with preparations, and she'd taken her role very seriously, setting the table with mismatched placemats she'd made in art class, and arranging flowers in a vase she'd found in the back of a cabinet. "Do you think she likes flowers?" Emma asked, adjusting a daisy for the 3rd time. "I know she does. She buys them at the farmer's market every week." "Good. Then she'll appreciate my arrangement." Emma stepped back to admire her work. "What time is she coming?" 6:30. Emma checked the clock. "That's in 45 minutes. You should probably change." Noah looked down at his jeans and t-shirt. "What's wrong with what I'm wearing?" "Nothing, if you're planning to look like you just rolled out of bed. But if you want to look nice for your girlfriend, you should change." "Since when are you a fashion expert?" "Since forever. Go change. I'll watch the sauce." Noah retreated to his bedroom, equal parts amused and terrified by his daughter's confidence. He changed into a button-down shirt, then changed back, then settled on a compromise of nice jeans and a sweater Emma had given him for his birthday. When he came back to the kitchen, Emma gave him an approving nod. "Better. You look like a dad who has his life together." "I'm not sure that's achievable, but I'll take it." The doorbell rang at exactly 6:30. Emma's eyes went wide, all her earlier confidence evaporating. "She's here! Dad, what do I say? How do I act? Should I hug her, or is that too much?" "Just be yourself, sweetheart. That's all anyone wants." Emma nodded, took a deep breath, and followed Noah to the door. He opened it to find Claire standing there with a bottle of wine in one hand and a wrapped package in the other. She looked beautiful in a simple dress and cardigan, her hair pulled back, her smile nervous. "Hi," she said. "Hi." Noah stepped back to let her in, hyper-aware of Emma hovering behind him. "Claire, this is Emma. Emma, this is Claire." For a moment they just looked at each other. Then Emma stepped forward and said, "I like your dress. The color is really pretty." Claire's face lit up. "Thank you. I like your placemats. Did you make those yourself?" "Yeah, we did a unit on abstract art at school. Mine's supposed to be a sunset, but my friend Mia said it looks more like a lasagna." "I can see both, which I think means it's successful art." Emma grinned, and Noah felt some of the tension in his shoulders release. Claire held out the wrapped package. "I brought you something. I hope that's okay. Your dad mentioned you like marine biology." Emma took the package carefully, looking at Noah for permission. He nodded, and she tore into the wrapping to reveal a book titled The Secret Life of Deep-Sea Creatures. "Oh, wow," Emma breathed, flipping through the pages. "Look at this anglerfish. And this is a vampire squid. They're one of my favorites. Dad, did you know vampire squids aren't actually squid? They're in their own order." "I did not know that." "Well, now you do." Emma hugged the book to her chest. "Thank you, Claire. This is really cool." "You're very welcome." They moved to the kitchen, where Noah poured wine for the adults and lemonade for Emma. Claire complimented the flower arrangement, earning another beaming smile from Emma, and offered to help with dinner. The 3 of them worked together in the small kitchen, Emma chattering about school and soccer and the injustice of having to read books she didn't like for English class, while Noah tried not to stare at how naturally Claire fit into this space. Dinner was easy in a way Noah hadn't expected. Emma asked Claire questions about being a nurse, about whether she'd ever seen anything really gross, about what the worst injury she'd treated was. Claire answered honestly, but age-appropriately, making Emma laugh with stories about the weird things kids put up their noses and the creative excuses parents made for emergency room visits. There was this one kid who swallowed a Lego, Claire said, and when we asked him why, he said he was testing to see if they really pass through your system like the internet said. Did it? Emma asked, fascinated. It did, which I do not recommend confirming yourself. I'm not that dumb, Emma said with the supreme confidence of a 9-year-old. I'd use something bigger so I could actually see if it worked. Please don't, Noah and Claire said in unison, then looked at each other and laughed. After dinner, Emma insisted on showing Claire her room, particularly the elaborate marine biology poster she'd made and the collection of shells she'd gathered from various beach trips. Noah followed at a distance, watching his daughter explain the difference between bivalves and gastropods, while Claire listened like it was the most fascinating thing she'd ever heard. And this one, Emma said, holding up a particularly large conch shell, is from when we went to Florida 2 years ago. Dad let me stay up past my bedtime to look for shells by flashlight. That sounds like an excellent memory. It was. Dad's pretty good at making memories, even when he's being boring the rest of the time. I'm standing right here, Noah said. I know, that's why I said it. Emma set down the shell and looked at Claire with sudden seriousness. Can I ask you something? Of course. Are you going to hurt my dad? The question landed like a stone in still water. Noah started to intervene, but Claire held up a hand. That's a really good question, Emma, and I'm going to be honest with you, okay? She sat down on Emma's bed, meeting her eyes. I hope not. I really, really hope not. I care about your dad a lot, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure this works. But sometimes grown-up relationships are complicated, and even when people try their hardest, things don't always work out the way we want them to. So you might hurt him. I might. Not on purpose, but it's possible. The same way he might hurt me. That's the risk everyone takes when they care about someone. Emma processed this, her face thoughtful. But you're going to try not to. I'm going to try very hard not to. Okay, that's good enough for me. Emma paused. Can I ask you something else? Sure. If you and my dad keep dating, are you going to try to be my mom? Because I already have a mom, and she's nice, and I don't really need another one. Claire glanced at Noah, then back at Emma. I'm not trying to replace your mom. She's always going to be your mom. But if your dad and I keep seeing each other, I'd like to be your friend. Someone you can talk to or hang out with, but not someone who's trying to be in charge of you or take anyone's place. Like a cool aunt? Exactly like a cool aunt. Emma considered this, then nodded decisively. I can work with that. I've always wanted a cool aunt. My actual aunts are kind of boring. Emma, Noah said, trying not to laugh. What? They are. Aunt Jennifer only talks about her cats, and Aunt Lisa is obsessed with CrossFit. You're way more interesting than cats and CrossFit. Claire was laughing now, the nervous tension that had been in her shoulders finally releasing. Well, I appreciate the vote of confidence. They migrated back to the living room, where Emma insisted on showing Claire her favorite nature documentary. Noah sat on one end of the couch, Claire on the other. Emma sprawled between them with her new book, occasionally reading out facts about deep-sea creatures that she found particularly interesting. Dad, did you know some fish in the deep ocean make their own light? It's called bioluminescence. I did know that, actually. Well, Claire probably didn't. I did, but I love your enthusiasm, Claire said, and Emma beamed. Around 9, Emma started yawning despite her obvious attempts to stay awake. Noah caught Claire's eye and tilted his head toward the kitchen. She nodded, and they left Emma fighting sleep on the couch. That went well, Claire said quietly, once they were out of earshot. She really likes you. I really like her, Noah. She's amazing, smart, funny, protective of you. You've done such a good job with her. It's mostly her. She came into this world determined to be her own person. I just try not to mess it up too badly. Claire stepped closer, her hand finding his. I meant what I told her, about trying not to hurt you. I know. I feel the same way about you. This is real, isn't it? Not just some rebound or rebellion against Lucas or whatever we've been telling ourselves to keep the stakes manageable. This is actually real. Yeah, Noah said. It's real. They kissed, soft and sweet, until Emma's voice called from the living room.
I can hear you guys being gross in there. Claire laughed against Noah's mouth. I should probably go. Let you get her to bed. You could stay. Noah? Not like that. Just stay. Watch a movie or talk or whatever. Emma's going to crash in about 10 minutes, and I'm not ready for you to leave yet. Claire searched his face for something, then nodded. Okay, I'll stay. They helped Emma to bed, the 9-year-old already half asleep as Noah tucked her in.
But as he was turning to leave, she grabbed his hand. Dad? Yeah, sweetheart? I like her. A lot. You should keep her. I'm going to try. Good. Emma's eyes were already closing. And Dad? I'm happy you're happy again. I missed that. Noah's throat closed up. He kissed her forehead and retreated before she could see the tears in his eyes. Claire was waiting in the hallway, and from her expression, she'd heard. They settled on the couch with the television on low, not really watching whatever was playing. Claire fit perfectly against Noah's side, her head on his shoulder, and they sat in comfortable silence for a long time. I was terrified, Claire admitted finally. That she wouldn't like me, or that I'd say something wrong, or that I'd somehow prove I wasn't cut out for this. You were perfect. I wasn't, but I was honest, and I think that mattered more. Noah kissed the top of her head. Emma's right, you know. I should keep you. I'm not going anywhere. They stayed like that until Claire finally stirred, checking her phone and sighing. I really should get home. I have an early shift tomorrow. Noah walked her to the door, reluctant to break the spell of the evening. On the porch, Claire turned to face him, her hands on his chest. Thank you, she said, for trusting me with her. I know that wasn't easy. Thank you for being someone I could trust with her. She kissed him one more time, then walked to her car. Noah watched until her taillights disappeared around the corner, then went back inside to find Emma standing in the hallway in her pajamas. I thought you were asleep. I was resting my eyes. There's a difference. She patted over and hugged him. She's a keeper, Dad. I think so too. Good. Now can we have ice cream? I feel like tonight deserves ice cream. It's 9:30. Exactly. The perfect time for ice cream. They ate ice cream straight from the container while sitting on the kitchen floor, a Reed family tradition for special occasions. Emma asked questions about Claire, about how they met, about whether Noah thought they'd get married someday. Noah answered honestly where he could and deflected where he couldn't, but mostly he just felt grateful for this moment, this kid, this life he was building. The weeks that followed settled into a rhythm that felt simultaneously new and inevitable. Claire started joining them for Sunday breakfast, a tradition that Emma declared way better than just Dad's burnt pancakes. They went to Emma's soccer games together, Claire cheering as loud as Noah from the sidelines. They had family movie nights where Emma insisted on picking the films and providing running commentary on the plot holes. Lucas stayed in Portland, according to Patricia's updates. He was in therapy, working through things, and while he hadn't reached out to apologize directly, he'd stopped sending angry texts or trying to poison their old friend group against them. It wasn't forgiveness exactly, but it was peace, and that was enough. One evening in early December, about 2 months after that first awkward coffee date, Noah was finishing up a custom deck project when his phone rang. Unknown number. He almost ignored it, but something made him answer. Noah Reed? Yeah, who's this? It's Lucas. Noah nearly dropped his phone. He looked around the job site as if Lucas might somehow be there, then walked toward his truck for privacy. Lucas, I didn't expect to hear from you. I know. I've been working up the courage to call for weeks. Lucas sounded different, calmer, less angry. I'm still in Portland, but I'm coming back next month. I wanted to talk to you before I did. Okay? I've been in therapy, real therapy. Not just someone to validate my anger. And I've had to confront some really uncomfortable truths about who I was in my marriage, about how I treated Claire, about how I responded when things fell apart. He paused. You and Claire were right. About all of it. Noah didn't know what to say. I controlled her, Lucas continued, made her small so I could feel big. Convinced myself I was supporting her career when really I was just micromanaging it to fit my image of what a successful spouse should look like. And when she finally stood up for herself,
I decided she was the villain because that was easier than accepting that I was the problem. Lucas, let me finish, please. Lucas took a breath. I don't expect forgiveness. From you or from Claire. I burned those bridges and I have to live with that. But I needed you to know that I'm sorry. For the things I said, the accusations I made, the way I tried to poison you against her. You're good for each other.
I can see that now. And you were a better friend to me than I ever deserved. Noah sat in his truck, processing.
Are you okay? Really?
I'm getting there. It's hard, facing all the ways you failed. But my therapist says that's the only way to actually change. So I'm trying.
That's good, Lucas. I'm glad you're getting help.
How is she?
Claire?
She's good.
Happy.
Good. That's good. Lucas was quiet for a moment. Tell her I'm sorry too, would you? I know she probably doesn't want to hear from me directly, but I need her to know. I will. And Noah? Take care of her. Actually take care of her the way I never did. I plan to. After the call ended, Noah sat in his truck for a long time, watching the sun set over the subdivision. He thought about calling Claire, telling her about the conversation, but decided it could wait until he saw her in person. He found her that evening at her apartment, making dinner and humming along to music. When he told her about Lucas's call, she set down the knife she'd been using to chop vegetables and was quiet for a long moment.
How do you feel about it? She asked finally.
I don't know.
Relieved, maybe? That he's getting help, that he's trying to change, but also sad for all the time we wasted being angry at each other. Do you want to forgive him?
Eventually, maybe, but I don't need to rush it. What about you?
Claire thought about it.
I spent so long angry at him. Then I spent time trying not to feel anything at all. But hearing that he's in therapy, that he's actually facing what went wrong, I feel hopeful. Not for us to be friends again, but for him to find peace. That's very generous of you. It's self-preservation. I can't be happy while still carrying around anger at him, so I'm choosing to let it go, not because he deserves it, but because I do. Noah pulled her close. Have I mentioned lately that you're pretty amazing? Not in the last few hours.
Well, you are.
They finished making dinner together